Welcome to Indiana Sports Beat Radio, presented by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Know your role and shut your mouth, you jabroni!
Fires upfield into the end zone. It is caught. Jelani Woods, touchdown! INDY! A 43-point night for Tyrese Halliburton.
How do you like that, partner?
Renew now, drives in low, throws up a shot. It doesn't go. Tipped up and in by Anthony Leal. Indiana takes the lead.
It's pretty simple. I win. Google me.
Now, here's your host, Jim Coyle.
Hello, people. I hope you're having a great day. I hope your week has been fantastic as it has finally reached the end, and it is going to be another spectacular weekend. Weather-wise, it's going to be beautiful. It's game day tonight as Indiana will take on Western Illinois in a night game. Friday night game, but 7:30 kickoff out at Memorial Stadium under the lights, and the weather is going to be spectacular, and this weekend is going to be spectacular. Looking forward to that, and to the huge lineup on today's program. Todd Leary, the shot father, will join us. Zach Osterman from the Indy Star. Matt Taylor from the Colts, Colts play-by-play guy. Dylan Powell, former Indiana football player as well, on the dais for today. NFL got underway last night, the 105th season of the NFL, and man, what a game it was. If you did not see it, my toe, my kingdom for a toe, my kingdom for a toe. Holy cow. You want to talk about an unbelievable finish. The Ravens, they didn't look dead all night, but they looked a step behind. But of course, a lot of people do against Patrick Mahomes and that Chiefs offense. But Patrick Mahomes, first of all, Peyton Manning gets a lot of grief over the size of his melon. But let me tell you, helmets I think they've gotten bigger to put more padding in there. They have to. But when I look at Patrick Mahomes, it looks like he's wearing like a 2X helmet that's sticking up extra far off of his head. Just kind of funny looking. But what's not funny looking is him in the pocket. He looks like he's back there on a hoverboard. He just hovers around, and all of a sudden, whoop, 15-yard completion. It's so effortless looking. Lamar Jackson is tough in a different way, but he doesn't seem to have that touch that Patrick Mahomes has, although he had a great play that went for a TD late there. And then, of course, the almost touchdown. Actually, Lamar missed a guy wide open on the play before that. And so that's just a tough loss. But time expiring, and Isaiah Weekly makes this grab on the back of the end zone, and his big toe just over the line. I mean, it was a spectacular finish, but fun times, fun way to kick off the NFL. The rest gets going this weekend, including the Colts. We'll talk about that with Matt Taylor when he joins us. We'll preview this weekend's football games with Dylan Powell. And, of course, Zach Osterman will join us. We'll talk about Indiana, Todd Leary. We'll talk some hoops. Kentucky, Mark Pope picks up his second big-time recruit. But, of course, this kid's from Lexington as well. That's the most shocking thing. I couldn't tell you the last time that Lexington, Kentucky had 2 5-star players. I think that Malachi was a 5-star. I can't remember. But 2 players of that caliber, that usually, I mean, Kentucky is not a big-time producer of talent out of the state in comparison. But got those 2, and Mark Pope has got them locked down. Great start to his recruiting class. Jasper Johnson, a 5-star combo guard. So, and Kentucky's going to have like 4 senior guards on that squad. So they're going to be kind of tough. Speaking of recruiting, Braylon Mullins, Matt Sisley, Eric Ribe. 2 weeks from now, they will be visiting Indiana. That was going to be Malachi Moreno, but now it's a different visit, and maybe new relationships can come from that. Jalen Harrelson in last week. Those are the 4 guys that I think Indiana would love. If you put them in order, there you go. Those 4 are the ones Indiana would kill to have. There was something yesterday and I forgot to mention, or maybe it's this today. No. Umar Ballo, selected by the Blue Ribbon Magazine as the Big Ten Newcomer of the Year. I found it funny because I'm like, okay, we've got Freshman of the Year, Player of the Year, Sixth Man of the Year, Coach of the Year, and now Newcomer of the Year. Why not just call it the Purchase of the Year? I guess they don't want to use the same acronym, POY, Player of the Year, Purchase of the Year. Make it, that's what it is. It's the Purchase of the Year. Maybe they should create an award for the teams that make the biggest buy off of the market, because that's what we're talking about. Newcomer of the Year. How sweet, how quaint. Why are we creating awards? What the hell? This is the dumbest award I've ever seen. He came to Indiana because he got a bag full of cash, as did a lot of players go elsewhere for the same reasons. So, free agent of the year. There you go, Philip. I just find it funny. It's just dumb. How's everybody doing? Would I say such a thing about IU football? Do you mean if they had the purchase of a year? Sure, why would I not? When do I not say something about something? It doesn't. Come on, guys, you know me better than that. I'm straight down the line. If I believe it, I say it. Tana said it's the LeBron effect, making up new awards and accolades to keep a name in the media. But that's the Big Ten or whomever. That's the Big Ten doing this stuff. I find it ridiculous, but who cares? Who cares? It's Friday, baby. It's game day, no less. I'm not going to pound on the fact that it's a Friday night and Indiana high schools are playing their games. In Bloomington, I've got to question the sanity of the people at the Speedway in Bloomington. They're having their series finale tonight. I saw that on the marquee, and I'm like, well, that's not going to work out well for you. I don't know what Bloomington South and North high schools and Edgewood, if any of their games are at home, and you've got an Indiana home football game, something's got to give. Yeah, something's got to give. I'm not clowning on IU or Ballo, man. You guys got to listen. 5, come on. I just said it's the Big Ten. It's the Big Ten, man. He just happens to be the one getting it. And that's Blue Ribbon. Blue Ribbon Magazine, I guess they created that on their own. I don't know that the Big Ten has created that. This is just a stupid award. It's not even an award. It's just an accolade that somebody makes up to give people like me something to whine and moan about. But I'm not the only one that thinks that. But yeah, why would you think I was cracking on Umar Ballo or IU? I didn't say it. I thought I was pretty clear about it. Make sure, hey, I know you guys are listening from all over, and we appreciate you. Make sure you subscribe to Indiana Sports Beat Radio on YouTube if you have not already. Big thank you to everybody listening down on the river on 97.7 ESPN. The Ref, always the right call. 12:30 a.m., 104.7 FM, the voice of the region, WJOB up in Hammond in Chicago, and the only sports station in Fort Wayne, 1380 The Fan. Keep it tuned right here. at the conclusion of Indiana Sports Beat Radio for more programming. I believe I will be on with Brad Klein today down on the ref, as a matter of fact. So unfortunately for you folks, you're going to hear more from me later. It's like George Costanza's dad. I got a lot of problems with your people. Just kidding. There should be like a half a Festivus. We have to wait all year for Festivus. Philip says, I don't need more to complain about. I will find things to complain about. Not really, but I got enough crap going on to worry about that. Don't worry. Brian says his little high school going for their first 3-0 start ever. Big time. They're playing Carroll, so it's probably not going to happen. Well, that's not a lot of confidence. I don't know what high school you're speaking of. You should have mentioned them, giving them a shout out. Justin's got $100 smoking in his wallet. He really ought to save it, but it's burning a hole. Well, you know what? I bet you we could find some bets for you. I'm thinking about making some bets this weekend. You know, and again, people, I'm not a big bettor. I'm talking about, you know, multiple $10 parlays or something like that. Just stuff to make it fun. But there are people that just sit there all the time and they're betting, and it could be $5, but they're betting on the nonstop prop bets inside the games. Brian's team is up in Kokomo. Taylor, good luck to him. Good luck to him. Hopefully they'll get there. Carroll High School up by Delphi, up by West Lafayette. Appreciate all our listeners up around that area as well. Norwell is a high school in Wells County, just south of Allen County. Fort Wayne is in Allen County. Of course it is. Is anyone going to the game tonight? As a matter of fact, the funny thing is, man, it's a nonstop day today. We get done with the show, and there's stuff to do, but there will be people out there tailgating, baby. This is, you don't know how many 7:30 games you're going to get, because TV can change all of that in a minute, especially if Indiana's season goes as well as some, including me, expect it to. You could see a few more changes in the schedule, which would be a good thing for Indiana. Put them on TV more TV, more success on TV, better recruiting. Indiana's going to need better recruiting as they go farther along under the Kurt Cignetti era. Not that they don't have solid players, but hey, better players are out there, which will be the case. If you build it, they will come. Man, welcome into the Hard Truth Studios. And we've got a lot coming up for you, including the Shot Father. We'll be back with more Indiana Sports Beat Radio, brought to you by the fine folks at Hard Truth Distilling Company, located in the heart of beautiful Brown County. Man, if you haven't been there, you're missing out. I'm telling you. We'll talk more about that in a little bit. And we will return to the Hard Truth Studios for Todd Leary right after this.
This segment is brought to you by the Ugly Grouper. This segment is brought to you by the Ugly Grouper.
In the market for a new or used vehicle? Well, nobody beats the prices and selection of Andy Moore Honda in Bloomington. Right now, get a brand new Honda with no payments for 90 days. That's right, 2023 and 2024 Honda Pilots, HRVs, CRVs, Honda Ridgelines, payment-free for 90 days. Or get 0.9% APR financing for 36 months on a 2023 Honda Ridgeline. Go to AndyMooreHonda.com and get more to your door. If you're looking for a home in the Indianapolis area, you need Cheryl Sizemore from RE/MAX Advanced Realty. Cheryl Sizemore has over 2 decades of experience, and that could be the difference in you getting the home you want in today's tough housing market. Reach out to Cheryl Sizemore from RE/MAX Advanced Realty at Cheryl@IndyHomePros.com or 317-298-0961. Cheryl Sizemore from RE/MAX Advanced Realty. Let Cheryl Sizemore get you in the home you want today. Cheryl at IndyHomePros.com.
Looking for someone to cater your next corporate event, family reunion, or tailgate? To some, a garnish may be nothing more than just a decoration put last on a plate. But in Bloomington, catering starts with Garnish Catering. Serving all of Bloomington and surrounding areas, Garnish Catering is waiting to help make your next event one to remember. Planning a great event shouldn't have to be stressful. Whether we quote you just for catering or a total event package, you can trust that you're making the right choice with Garnish Catering. Visit garnishcatering.com. That's garnishcatering.com. Garnish Catering is a proud partner of WOW Food Group.
Whether it's a night out with the family, after work with colleagues, or catching the game with friends, Bubba's 33 is the place for you. Bubba's 33 offers a mouth-watering menu of selections that are all made from scratch every day. The portions are big, but the prices are small. And with over 50 big-screen TVs, you'll never miss the big game. Bubba's 33. Pizza, burgers, beer.
Country living is just a swing away. It can be hard to find the exact home that fits your family's needs, so there couldn't be a better time to build a new home with Property Shore Construction. Now building exclusively south of Bloomington within the Stonecrest Golf community. Choose from one of the gorgeous Stonecrest Signature Series house plans. We have several lots available with scenic views of the golf course. Contact Amy Rhoda with Revesco Real Estate for additional information. 812-583-0919 or go to mystonecrestliving.com. That's mystonecrestliving.com for more details.
Enjoy healthy, delicious meals at home without the hassle with the Fresh Fork. Chef-curated, ready-made meals delivered right to your doorstep. Proudly fueling IU athletes and now available to you with a menu that's always fresh and diverse, from hearty proteins to fresh salads. The Fresh Fork empowers you to make better food choices without compromising. Let the Fresh Fork help transform your lifestyle for a healthier way of living today at thefreshforkonline.com. Use promo code RADIO20 and get $20 off of your first order.
This segment is brought to you by Bubba's 33 in Clarksville.
Welcome back to the Hard Truth Studios on this beautiful Friday, and Todd Leary joins us, the Todd Father, the Shot Father. We got all kinds. You got all kinds of nicknames now. You got you have to have different jerseys. Just different jerseys. Change that up. How's your week been, man?
It's been good. It's been. I know you like these cool mornings, so.
Hey, boy, it was warm yesterday.
It got hot, but boy, the mornings have sure been pleasant.
Amazing. And it's going to be crazy. Like a high in the next
like
day
70
or two.
Tomorrow, yeah.
Yes, beautiful. It's crazy. What's crazy good. That's okay. We'll talk some football in a minute, but not a ton going on in basketball right now, but some recruiting still happening. I mentioned earlier, Mark Pope down in Kentucky just landed his second 5-star, but ironically, both of those guys are from the Lexington area. First of all, Lexington does not usually produce multiple 5-star basketball players. That doesn't happen a lot, but it's a great way for him to get started. But that's fine. Indiana has just had Jalen Harrelson in on a visit last week. In 2 weeks, Braylon Mullins will be in along with Trent Sisley and Eric Ribe, who is a replacement for Malachi Moreno, who was supposed to have come in then. He's a 5-star center, so maybe they have a better shot at getting Ribe than they did Moreno just because of his ties to home and all that. But that is a major, big-time recruiting weekend for Indiana.
Yeah, it is. And you know, we keep saying this, and it's because our feelings haven't changed on it. Like, Indiana needs to land at least one of those big three Indiana kids in Harrelson, Mullins, and Sisley. And they need to get one of them. I don't say that very often. I don't put that much pressure on an individual recruit here or there. But the fact that they're three Indiana kids that are, I don't care what their ratings are, they're all extremely talented and will help your basketball team win. And being from the state of Indiana, I think we have to hope to capitalize on the recruiting geography the same way that Kentucky did, with having Malachi Moreno be right there and outside of Lexington, and so hopefully just Indiana's able to capitalize on that side of it, because you don't often get three guys like this, like you just talked about, Lexington producing two, or the suburbs of Lexington producing two 5-stars, and you've got three guys that are all rated, the top 100 in the country, all right here from Indiana. So you've got to land one of those guys, in my opinion. If you don't, it doesn't crush your program, but I really think it helps your program a bunch if you get at least one of those guys.
I think it hurts you if you don't land at least one of them just because of the optics.
Yeah.
And with Indiana supposedly, trying to rise back up, their NIL is there. They've got to land. I more than agree with you. As a matter of fact, I think that if they don't get two of them, getting one is good, but it's a wash because that means you struck out on 3 out of the 4. So you're hitting 250, which I know that you'll disagree and you're a lot smarter about this than I am. And I'm the first one to admit that, let me tell you, all day long. But I think that for a change in momentum, to get away just for the recruiting aspect, because they're always going to be able to pull guys out of the portal. But from the strictly recruiting side of it, I think they need to land 2 to kind of send a message. Hey, we're back on the recruiting side as well.
Yeah, and I don't disagree with you. I mean, obviously getting 2 of them would just be, kind of a dream. Like, that would be awesome. But I don't think that I don't think you would look at it as a failure if you don't get 2 of the 3. But I understand completely where you're coming from the standpoint of they're so close to home. Like, they're right here. And those are the guys that it's hard to say in the past because I don't want to say like in the last 10 years because that's not really been the case. But back in Indiana's basketball heydays in the 80s and 90s, Indiana definitely gets 2 of those guys. And that's
if not all 3.
If not all 3. And that's the era we grew up in. I mean, heck, look at how many.
Look at your class.
We had a recruiting class of 7, and
your class was this class doubled and then some.
Right. Yeah. And so that's, it's something that would be extremely beneficial. It doesn't mean if you don't get any of them, it doesn't mean you're toast, like you got no chance. But I definitely think the optics side of it matters. And it matters more to us as fans than it does, I think, the coaching staff. Because believe me, I'm the first one that's going to say this. I was fortunate enough to go to South Carolina and watch the AAU Nationals this year. And I'll just say this. There's plenty of talent out there. Like, yes, I want all 3 of these guys, and they are exceptional, and they do things that not every recruit's the same. But there is a lot of talent out there, and if you don't get these guys, there are more guys that are excited to come and play at Indiana. And so I just, I think going on that kind of helped ease my tension a little bit about would they land 1, 2, or all 3 of these guys. I never really considered Moreno an option. I don't consider that a miss because
no, I don't either. No,
everything lined up perfectly for him to go where he ended up going.
I mean, that would be like a kid at Ellettsville that Indiana, was chasing.
Right.
Indiana better be in the front seat, for that kid.
Right, totally. So, and when you're comparing apples and apples and everything, your programs all have their parts that stick out and make them, unique and better than another. When it comes to being able to stay at home, and I know, like we talked about it extensively, his relationship with his mom in particular, and I was fortunate enough to be able to talk to her quite a bit in South Carolina, an extremely nice lady, and you wish nothing but the best for him. I don't consider that a miss. I think he is living out a dream that is where he wanted to play. And fortunately for him, he's got that opportunity. So I don't consider that a miss, but if you don't get one of these other 3, I would definitely consider that a miss. I don't think it would be the end of the world, but I definitely think it helps you to get at least one of them.
Yeah. Russell says, imagine if Jordan Halls went to Kentucky. Exactly. But I will tell you, our friend, Pat Graham, that was, they were up on his list. And because unless you probably live in the town where the school is, and even though you live in the state, man, that stuff kind of gets blurred as far as the lure of the old hey, I'm going to go fight for my state stuff. The AAU and the travel, all the travel they do now, it's kind of delineated all that.
It really has. And AAU's changed, the landscape of college basketball in a bunch of different ways, but probably one of the main ones is recruiting. And, these guys have all traveled around and played and seen all of the different things. And I truly believe that you've got, 4 or 5 big question marks for every recruit that they need to go check boxes on what's important to them when they go visit a certain school. And, I always have thought that one of the number one questions that needs to be answered by a recruit is how are they going to fit in with the style of play? And just because a kid lives locally doesn't mean he's necessarily going to fit in with that particular style of play. And so, all 3 of these guys, I think, all are the kind of long, athletic, NBA type body players that Coach Woodson likes and would fit in well with his coaching style. And so I do believe all 3 of these guys fit, kind of surprisingly, because I don't think you can always say that. But I do think all 3 of these guys kind of fit the mold of what Indiana's looking at to recruit.
Yeah, and where's Brian? Brian says Indiana needs this, or the fans need to stop worrying about the Indiana kids, wrong, and spend some time on Bryson Tiller, Mikael Brown, and Nate Ament, 5 stars, 11, 12, and 13. Don't get caught up in numbers, people. All right, Mikael Brown, an example. Guess who shut him down in AAU play this summer? Trent Sisley. Put him in a jar and shut it. A mason jar, shut the lid, put it on the shelf, shut him down. So don't get hung up in numbers. Trent Sisley is rated, 50 spots lower, but that don't mean diddly squat to me. That does not show future ability. That does not show coaching ability. It just, you've worked with him. And I'm just using him as an example, but I'm like going, there is not this gigantic chasm between whichever one of these Mikael Brown is, if he's number 12, and Trent Sisley at number 67 or whatever. Again, 67 shut 12 down. So don't get hung up on numbers.
And the only thing I will say about that, Brian, I don't disagree with Brian's comment. It's kind of what I was saying. It's not the end of the world if you don't get these guys. It would be great optics wise, as we keep saying, to get a hometown guy that is, that wants to come and play there. Like, that would be a benefit, I do believe. I don't think it's the end of the world if you don't get them. But the one thing I do want to say to what Brian's saying, and it goes right along with what you're saying, is I don't think that the 11, 12, 13 numbers mean what a lot of people think they mean. I think there's probably a top 5 players in the country in every class. I think this is the case. Now, there are some outliers where there's an exceptionally talented class here or there, and you might get up to 10 or 15 guys. But there's a top 5 guys that kind of separate themselves off from everyone else. And then you can kind of lump numbers, I'll just say 5 through 30 or 40 even, kind of all together, because you're not comparing all the same size or athleticism or guys that are playing against the same type talent all the time. And then I think you can really lump numbers 40 through 100 all together. Like, maybe there's a tick difference between them, but I'm telling you this. In watching what I saw in South Carolina, there is a very small difference between the recruiting numbers 10 through 100. A very small difference. That top 10, I might believe you. Outside of that, there's not a big difference.
And then, Todd, if we went a year later and you took those numbers, how different would a lot of those numbers look?
Hey, I love going back and we're IU fans, so we're going to use Victor Oladipo and Jawan.
I was getting ready to say Victor Oladipo, OG Anunoby.
OG as great examples, because, there are other factors that go into what you end up becoming. And I love going back and looking at what a guy like Victor Oladipo was rated coming out of, in the AAU system and all of that, because it just kind of proves my point. And I'm not going to say this. I used to be very harsh about it and say the guys who do the ratings are idiots and they don't know what they're doing and they don't know what they're talking about. And I think that's silly for me to say it that way, because they put a lot of work and effort and spend a lot of money into traveling to these different tournaments and watching these kids play. I think to the best of their abilities, they rate these kids the way that they should be rated. And they're fairly close in that. I don't think the rating system makes a ton of sense because
there's politics involved in it, for one.
For sure. I mean, if I really wanted to, I could go get a kid rated, in some service pretty high if I sponsored them or gave them some money or did whatever. But I think the point I made a second ago about the difference between number 10 and number 99 is so small. It's such a tiny difference between those guys, and they can jump up. What are we all going to say that the guys who rated Braylon Mullins, 2 summers ago, were they just dead wrong? Or did Braylon Mullins get that much better? Or is it a combination of both? And I think it's probably a combination of both. I think he probably should have been rated higher to begin with. Do I think he jumped over, 100 kids in that 2-month period of time in the summer? I mean, that's debatable, but he had a great summer. It doesn't matter whether he's rated number 11 or number 99. To me, that doesn't matter. He is, if you're rated in the top 100, you can play. And it's more about body type and it's more about coaching ability or coachability. How well do you listen? How well do you pick things up? That's a big factor into it. What kind of leader are you? Because you're a great player doesn't mean you're a great leader. Because you're a great leader doesn't mean you lead in all different kinds of ways. I use Calbert Chaney as my great example all the time because he was one of the best leaders I was ever around, but he wasn't vocal. He led by example, and he led by playing the hardest and working the hardest. And that's a form of leadership that is very beneficial on a team. But he was never boisterous and never, not very often did he get worked up and get on guys and yell at you and, tell you to get your head out of your butt and all that. Like he was a I'll show you kind of leader. And kids are all different. Like I wouldn't consider all 3 of these kids we're talking about from the state of Indiana that are rated so high, I wouldn't consider them all the same kind of players. And I think 1 or 2 of them is a little more coachable. I think 1 or 2 of them is a little bit better of a leader. So they all bring fantastic attributes to being able to come to a school like Indiana. It just comes down to the fact of how are you going to fit in? What's the team look like? What's the portal going to look like? And none of us can predict that.
No, and daggone, I forgot what I was going to say. I had something worthy of saying, and
when I ramble on, I tend to make people.
No, it was something that you'd said that reminded me of it, but yeah, well, it is what it is. But part of it, there is something to. There you go. Yeah, it looked like a Coors Light, didn't it?
Yeah. I want to make sure he knew it was an energy drink. My mom will be screaming at me.
But yeah, the funny thing is, this will be the 4th season of the Mike Woodson era, and the first 2 seasons it was just like that's when college started changing, and so they were never really in on the Indiana kids, and so now that they are, it's taken a little longer than I would have thought. But if Indiana doesn't get Braylon Mullins, they're going to lose him to another powered team. If they don't get Jalen Harrelson, they will lose him to just a different big-time power team. If they don't get Sisley, they're going to lose him to Purdue.
I like the way you narrowed that one. I like the way you narrowed that one.
It didn't take long. It's like right there. That one's easy. Losing to Kansas or Duke, it sucks.
Right.
But it's not as bad as losing a kid to Purdue, especially one that is from deep in southern Indiana.
Right.
That has been.
You got to drive through Bloomington to get to West Lafayette.
Exactly. I mean, it's like the old Confederate states. Southern Indiana is an IU flag. It's like IU has had its flag stuck there. And that happened until Archie Miller when they lost Trey Kaufman-Wren. But that seemed to open the door. And Matt Painter has poured a ton of his resources into recruiting Trent Sisley.
Yep, there's no argument about that one. And you know, I think Coach Painter and Purdue has a little different system than I'll say most other teams in the country. I'm not going to say no one else, but I think because they have such a foundation built, they recruit a little bit differently than most of the other schools is the best way, I think, for me to say it. And I don't think you can just all of a sudden start recruiting like Purdue does. You've got to build that culture and that foundation within your program, and then you can recruit a lot more targeted, like I think they do. And I'm with you. I don't have any inside information. I am friends with the Sisley family, but I'm not. I don't ever talk about it, and I don't bring it up because I would not violate that part of our friendship.
You and me both. I've even last couple of days, it's been in my mind. I'm like, I so badly want to reach out and say, okay, just between you and me, I just want to know
where we stand. Right.
I'm not going to tell anybody.
Right.
I'm just curious.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's a situation when you put it down on paper. Is a brother and a sister that goes to Indiana.
Oh, yeah.
You have to drive through Bloomington to get to West Lafayette. If he doesn't come to Indiana, I would just say it's been a well thought out process, and they have weighed a lot of options, and they just truly believe that the best scenario for him would be West Lafayette, because there's no factor right now against Indiana with them that you could come up with any other conclusion. I don't think. Like I think he wants to go to an Indiana school. I'm not going to say Indiana over Purdue or Notre Dame. I think he wants to go to an Indiana school. I think it would benefit him to go to an Indiana school, being from a small town in southern Indiana. And so, honestly, if it's not Indiana, if Braylon Mullins doesn't go to Indiana, I hope he goes to UConn or Kansas or Duke or somewhere far away. But if
which
Trent
will
Sisley
probably be the case,
right? But if Trent Sisley doesn't come to Indiana, I do hope he goes to Purdue, because he's a great kid, he's a great family, and that I do believe either Indiana or Purdue I think is the right choice for him. And I'm not going to cross the line and say I think Indiana is the by far leading choice. But I think one of those two schools is the right choice for Sisley.
Well, not only that, I mean, there's family considerations, like you mentioned, his family that's here. I don't see him going anywhere outside of the state either. Not that he can't. He's got offers from Michigan State, from Iowa. He can go a lot of different places. But
well, they travel like the Jackson family. I mean, when he goes to an AAU game, it's in Indiana. He's got aunts and uncles and cousins and nephews and nieces. He's got everybody there at the game. So,
and getting to college, it may be less travel for them once they get to college, man, from all that they've done.
Sure. No doubt.
Todd Leary, hope you have a great weekend, sir. See football this weekend.
Football tonight.
Football tonight. Did you see the game last night?
I did, of course.
Wow, what a freaking finish. A toe, my kingdom for a toe. I'm like,
if that dude wore size 12 instead of 14s, that game would still be going on.
And was it one or two plays before that, he hit the ground hard.
Yeah. I did not think he was coming back from that one.
No, and that been a better throw, that's a touchdown.
Yeah.
Then Lamar Jackson misses another guy wide open. Wide open.
Yeah.
And then Isaiah Weekly made that, and it's still a hell of a catch. That catch is like the dunk that Oladipo did not get. There are very few things that don't happen that you still talk about. They have to be pretty damn incredible. Yeah. Football tonight, Indiana, man, under the lights at Memorial Stadium. They start off the season 1-0 with a win last week. And
when's the last time Indiana was a 42-point favorite?
Is there a line out?
Yeah, I just saw this morning. I was looking at the game time.
I did not think that they would put a line out because I knew it would be something like that, and there was no way in hell Vegas was going to trust Indiana to cover a 42-point spread.
42-point line, yeah. Well,
wow.
I think I read Western Illinois has lost 25 in a row or something along those lines. So
I forget who they played last week, but it was no one, and they put up
it was like Eastern
yards.
Illinois or some Northern Illinois. They played and lost by 50.
600 yards of offense on them, I believe.
Yeah.
So yeah,
hey, it's a good tune-up to head into Big Ten play next week.
Hey, how about that? How cool is that going to be going to Los Angeles to play in the Rose Bowl in a game?
What day you leaving?
Thursday.
Oh, nice.
Oh, hell yes.
I'm jealous.
Thursday. I've got to check the time because, but yeah, Thursday. Looking forward to that. But man, that is going to be. We'll have fun talking about that next week.
Yeah,
except for I won't because it'll be a little early out there do the show. But oh well. Western Illinois, the pride of Moline. K-Bro chips in right at the right time. Western Illinois, the pride of Moline. Yeah, they're probably.
I don't know if Moline has a lot of pride. I don't know if there's a lot of pride in Moline, Illinois.
Not if Western Illinois is in charge of it, man. I can tell you that. What do you got going this weekend?
Just a lot of football watching. Excited for the first weekend in the NFL. Love the second weekend of college football. Just exciting. Fun to have stuff on TV to watch. Great game tonight in the NFL. So yeah, just a lot of fun.
Absolutely. Todd Leary, the Todd Father, the Shot Father from myjumpshot.com. Don't forget, if you know a kid, have a kid, are a kid, need your jump shot refined, doesn't matter, age, any of that. The Shot Father can help you with that. He does that a lot with some of the best known players in the state, some of which have been mentioned today. And then you've got, did you work with the Xavier, didn't you?
I did.
Robinson?
Yeah, of course.
Off to, and he's going to Notre Dame?
He's a kid that just kind of slipped under the radar, I think. He was talked about a lot and then just kind of slipped under the radar for a lot of schools. But
well, that's easy to happen when you're in Indianapolis. That's easy to happen.
Don't sleep on him. Trust me. That dude, that's just one of those dudes you're going to talk about later down the road and say that dude can play.
Appreciate you, my friend. Have a great weekend. Enjoy your football.
You too. Can't wait.
That's the Shot Father. Todd Leary joining us here on Indiana Sports Beat Radio, coming to you from the Hard Truth Studios. And we've got lots more coming up. We'll be back with it right after this.
This segment is brought to you by Bubba's 33 in Clarksville.
If you're looking for a home in the Indianapolis area, you need Cheryl Sizemore from RE/MAX Advanced Realty. Cheryl Sizemore has over 2 decades of experience, and that could be the difference in you getting the home you want in today's tough housing market. Reach out to Cheryl Sizemore from RE/MAX Advanced Realty at cheryl@indiehomepros.com or 317-298-0961. Cheryl Sizemore from RE/MAX Advanced Realty. Let Cheryl Sizemore get you in the home you want today. Cheryl@indiehomepros.com.
Whether it's a night out with the family, after work with colleagues, or catching the game with friends, Bubba's 33 is the place for you. Bubba's 33 offers a mouthwatering menu of selections that are all made from scratch every day. The portions are big, but the prices are small. And with over 50 big screen TVs, you'll never miss the big game. Bubba's 33, pizza, burgers, beer.
Country living is just a swing away. It can be hard to find the exact home that fits your family's needs, so there couldn't be a better time to build a new home with Property Shore Construction. Now building exclusively south of Bloomington within the Stonecrest Golf Community. Choose from one of the gorgeous Stonecrest Signature Series house plans. We have several lots available with scenic views of the golf course. Contact Amy Rhoda with Revesco Real Estate for additional information. 812-583-0919 or go to mystonecrestliving.com. That's mystonecrestliving.com for more details.
Know a team or group needing a fundraiser? Boost Fundraising raises more money faster and offers the most unique and user-friendly online fundraiser in the nation. Your team receives personalized fundraising pages for each team member. Free team-branded promo gifts shipped to each donor. Boost Fundraising does it all. Sports teams, marching bands, charity causes, and community groups. Go to boostfundraising.com and be sure to enter the promo code COYLE, that's COYLE, to receive a discounted fundraiser.
Looking for someone to cater your next corporate event, family reunion, or tailgate? To some, a garnish may be nothing more than just a decoration put last on a plate. But in Bloomington, catering starts with Garnish Catering. Serving all of Bloomington and surrounding areas, Garnish Catering is waiting to help make your next event one to remember. Planning a great event shouldn't have to be stressful. Whether we quote you just for catering or a total event package, you can trust that you're making the right choice with Garnish Catering. Visit garnishcatering.com. That's garnishcatering.com. Garnish Catering is a proud partner of WOW Food Group.
In the market for a new or used vehicle? Well, nobody beats the prices and selection of Andy Moore Honda in Bloomington. Right now, get a brand new Honda with no payments for 90 days. That's right, 2023 and 2024 Honda Pilots, HRVs, CRVs, Honda Ridgelines, payment-free for 90 days. Or get 0.9% APR financing for 36 months on a 2023 Honda Ridgeline. Go to AndyMooreHonda.com and get more to your door.
Segment is brought to you by Reynolds Family Dentistry in Sellersburg.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio here at the Hard Truth Studios, bringing the Hard Truth today. College football tonight. NFL started last night as Kansas City gets a 27-20 win over Baltimore in a hell of a game. Tonight from São Paulo, Brazil. Game 2 of the NFL season. And then it continues. Indy says, I need a Caitlin Clark jersey. Well, send me one and we'll hang it up. So there's that. Justin likes Rip Torn. He's one of the funniest people. Greatest series ever was, daggone it. Oh man, I can't think of it. It was this comedy about a talk show with Gary Shandling show. Oh my God, was Rip Torn hilarious on that? There was a woman that was playing a network boss of his. And again, this is a female, and they're not seeing eye to eye. And then one time they go face to face, and he says, I killed a man like you in Korea. I just always found that to be extraordinarily funny. Just finished up with Todd Leary, our good friend. Matt Taylor will join us on the program today. Zach Osterman and Dylan Powell all coming up in the next hour, man. That means tons of stuff to get to. Don't forget, tonight, after the football game, the Indiana Sports Beat, the Hard Truth Indiana football postgame show coming to you from Memorial Stadium. Dylan Powell, who will be with us today, will also join us tonight. Coach Griffith join us on postgame show, and I believe we will have Mitchell Page as usual as well to talk about what should be a big victory for Indiana. Now, winning this game is not in question to me. It is, does the offense clean up the mistakes they made? Because it doesn't matter who you're playing, offsides, illegal formation, illegal procedure, those kind of little ticky-tack fouls that you bring upon yourself are huge, because they might just be a 5-yard penalty, but it could just be it could come on a play where you just gain 22 yards. Now you lose that 22 and another 5, so you just lost 27 yards going the wrong way. They're drive killers, absolute drive killers. You're not going to get through a game penalty free, but at JMU, they were the least penalized team in the conference. I think that they'll get there, but that's one of the things tonight is about. Getting rid of those things, because it doesn't matter that they're playing Western Illinois. That's not going to cause them to do those things or not. And if they can clean those up, you should damn sure not see much holding, because you better not have to hold against a team like Western Illinois. Does Indiana open up the passing game a little more? Will we? I do not expect to see Donovan McCulley play, because why? There's no reason. you take this game off. Number one, because you do not need him. You do not need him in this game whatsoever. Where you do need him is next Saturday in Los Angeles in the Rose Bowl against UCLA. That's where you're going to want to start putting his services to work. Pecan wants to run the score up tonight. I don't think that Indiana will purposely run the score up, but again, they shouldn't have to. They should be able to pretty much score at will. Their running game is already looking pretty damn good. I mean, the stats that I gave yesterday, I'm still astonished by. And if you missed it, I went back and found Indiana's top 3 individual rushing performances last season, for all of last season, all 12 games, and added those 3 up. It was Jalen Lucas, and then Ben Howland had the other 2. Totaled like 237 yards. The top 3 performances from game 1 under Kurt Cignetti, 224 yards among his top 3 rushers. So about 10 yards difference off of the entire best from last season. If you don't think that there's a major upgrade in this offense, then you're missing the boat. The passing, that'll come. That's about being synced, in sync, having the guys where you want them, getting through this stuff, getting these penalties cleaned up. It'll come. I don't know that Curtis Rourke is going to be this guy who's going to throw for 300 to 400 yards a game. But I don't think he'll have to, because I think Indiana is going to have a pretty good mix on their offense. They've already shown that they can successfully run the ball. And I'm pretty confident they can successfully pass the ball, especially if they stay within themselves and then sneak in some downfield throws on top of that, catching the defenders on their heels a bit. So the offensive line is going to have to continue to improve. There's no doubt about that. But plenty of coming up with that. UConn in the Big 12. They were trying to have a relationship that does not look like it is going to happen at this moment. Big 12's discussions to add UConn have stalled, the commissioner says, which not good for UConn because they need a lifeline, basically. They have a great basketball program, but college athletics is no longer about having a great program unless it's a great football program. But even UConn, they're small stadium. But anyway, the Big 12's conversations about potentially adding UConn as a member have stalled. And that comes from Commissioner Brett Yorkman Thursday morning. Following detailed discussions with his conference colleagues alongside UConn leadership, they have jointly decided to pause their conversations at this time. According to Yorkman, we will instead focus our attention and resources to ushering in this new era of college athletics. Reading between the lines, UConn, you got a great basketball program, but the rest of and a great women's program in basketball, but doesn't move the needle, doesn't do enough. Not for the Big 12 that has Kansas with a great basketball program, but it has also built a solid football program in the last few years under Lance Leipold. Kansas State, Oklahoma State, Texas Tech. I mean, they've got that's a solid conference. And UConn just doesn't have it. Schools that miss the boat on building up their football programs they're paying the price. We've got to take a break. More coming up here on Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Back with it right after this.
This segment is brought to you by Reynolds Family Dentistry in Sellersburg.
In the market for a new or used vehicle? Well, nobody beats the prices and selection of Andy Moore Honda in Bloomington. Right now, get a brand new Honda with no payments for 90 days. That's right, 2023 and 2024 Honda Pilots, HRVs, CRVs, Honda Ridgelines, payment-free for 90 days. Or get 0.9% APR financing for 36 months on a 2023 Honda Ridgeline. Go to AndyMooreHonda.com and get more to your door.
Looking for someone to cater your next corporate event, family reunion, or tailgate? To some, a garnish may be nothing more than just a decoration put last on a plate. But in Bloomington, catering starts with Garnish Catering. Serving all of Bloomington and surrounding areas, Garnish Catering is waiting to help make your next event one to remember. Planning a great event shouldn't have to be stressful. Whether we quote you just for catering or a total event package, you can trust that you're making the right choice with Garnish Catering. Visit garnishcatering.com. That's garnishcatering.com. Garnish Catering is a proud partner of WOW Food Group.
If you're looking for a home in the Indianapolis area, you need Cheryl Sizemore from RE/MAX Advanced Realty. Cheryl Sizemore has over 2 decades of experience, and that could be the difference in you getting the home you want in today's tough housing market. Reach out to Cheryl Sizemore from RE/MAX Advanced Realty at cheryl@indyhomepros.com or 317-298-0961. Cheryl Sizemore from RE/MAX Advanced Realty. Let Cheryl Sizemore get you in the home you want today. Cheryl at indyhomepros.com.
Whether it's a night out with the family, after work with colleagues, or catching the game with friends, Bubba's 33 is the place for you. Bubba's 33 offers a mouth-watering menu of selections that are all made from scratch every day. The portions are big, but the prices are small. And with over 50 big screen TVs, you'll never miss the big game. Bubba's 33, pizza, burgers, beer. The Ugly Grouper, located on beautiful Anna Marie in Florida, is the place to be, and not just because they have unforgettable meals, including locally sourced seafood. The Ugly Grouper has your favorite craft beers and cocktails, along with live music every day. The Ugly Grouper is family-friendly, able to host private parties, and has the biggest grouper you've ever seen. The Ugly Grouper is the place to be on Anna Marie Island, Florida. Tell them Indiana Sports Beat sent you. Go to theuglygrouper.com for more information.
Country living is just a swing away. It can be hard to find the exact home that fits your family's needs, so there couldn't be a better time to build a new home with Property Shore Construction. Now building exclusively south of Bloomington within the Stonecrest Golf community. Choose from one of the gorgeous Stonecrest Signature Series house plans. We have several lots available with scenic views of the golf course. Contact Amy Rhoda with Revesco Real Estate for additional information. 812-583-0919 or go to mystonecrestliving.com. That's mystonecrestliving.com for more details. This segment is brought to you by the Fresh Fork in Bloomington.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio here on this Friday. It's also game day. Welcome aboard, Zach Osterman from the Indy Star. How you beat writer for the Star. Zach, how is your week going, man? Not sure Zach can hear me, but we'll see if we can get him back on here in a second. Skylar, you might want to let him know on the send him a message or something that we got him on, but he couldn't hear us. And we'll kick him and have him rejoin us. We'll do. See how that does. And so Zach from the Indy Star will join us here in a second. But there's some big games this weekend too. Michigan facing a test I'm not sure they're ready for, as they will host Texas. Number 7, Texas. Now, we'll find out, is Texas really that good? And we'll also find out where Michigan is. Win or lose, they've got to, I'm not saying they have to win that game because they're an underdog, but Michigan rarely, you're talking about teams that are only three spots apart as far as the rankings go. And that would usually not result in, I don't know, 5 or 6 wins. But Michigan, even though that Michigan is the lower ranked team of those, they're number 10, I believe, maybe 11. Texas is 7. That would generally not translate to Texas being a favorite at the Big House with 110,000 people there, but that is the case right now. And I think that it is right, to be honest with you. I've just not been sold on Michigan. Let's see, is this week's? Yeah, number 3, Texas. And we're Michigan, number 10. So yeah, I just, Michigan is just, I've talked about it a couple times. They've lost a ton of stuff, and they've got a lot of crap going on. So I just don't have a lot of confidence in what is going on up in Ann Arbor. We'll sure find out how it goes. And but tonight Indiana hosts a Western Illinois team that they should just absolutely obliterate. Zach Osterman from the Indy Star. Hopefully we got him back there. Now, if you can hear me, let me know.
Yeah, sorry, I don't know what happened. There we go. I was
technology,
here.
Man, crazy technology as usual. How's your week gone, first of all?
It's been fine. I mean, you know how it is. We're all just kind of kicking through these days.
Absolutely. Friday night, that's a game night, unusual is for college. And man, I talked earlier, the Bloomington or IU had nothing to do with the Friday night game schedule. Of course, that's the Big 12. But the Speedway has their finale tonight. I haven't even checked to look to see if Bloomington North and South and Edgewood high schools, if they are playing at home.
Isn't it North-South night? I think it is.
Oh, are you kidding me?
I think it's Bloomington. Yeah, hold on. I'll do this. This is on-air admin.
Absolutely. And that is
the South football schedule.
Absolutely atrocious.
No. South's at home against Terre Haute North. They don't play they play next week.
That's
week
good.
Is North-South.
At least it's an away game. That's still a big-time game for Bloomington South as they welcome Terre Haute North in. But tonight's game for Indiana, this is basically a walkthrough rehearsal. I hate to say that because it's very disrespectful. And it's not. I don't mean that towards Western Illinois, but the truth of the matter is they're just not a good football team. And it's not my judgment. The numbers bear that out. So this is an opportunity for Indiana to basically clean up the things that they didn't do well last week, which there wasn't a lot of things that they didn't do well. Just the penalties that got away from them that kept them from putting more points on the board. Defensively, I don't know what the hell else more you're going to ask other than that one series where they seem to go into a little bit of a daze. Man, they shut FIU down, which I expect a shutout this week, which those are hard to come by. But this should be. We do the weekly predictions, and I have never predicted I put out a score of 49-0, and I think that is reasonable. And I didn't know that there was a line because I didn't think that they put one out in this game, but it is. Todd Leary told us it was 42. I think that's more than attainable.
No, I mean, I agree. I think, it's never a good sign when a head coach and, coaches will always say, we got to take it one game at a time, yada, yada, yada. But it's never a good sign when a head coach, I think Kurt Cignetti said it on his radio show that this was a game that was, that the opponent was human nature, essentially. You said it, like, you're not trying to be flippant. You're not trying to be arrogant. Western Illinois is just not a great team by any stretch of the imagination. They were very poor last season. They were very poor in week 1. Statistically speaking, both phases of the ball are a challenge. If this were week one for Indiana, I think you'd maybe look at it a little bit differently. But Indiana's even got kind of all the first week jitters out, so to speak. And I think that that even that almost kind of makes it a little bit more difficult to see Indiana having much trouble with this. I think it's, if you do it right, if you're Indiana, this is the kind of game where you almost treat it like a true preseason game in the sense of, starters get 2 quarters, backups get 1 quarter. Maybe you start mixing, if the score gets where you want it to be, maybe you start mixing some backups in, before halftime. You even earmark some snaps for a lot of your third team guys, especially quarterback. I think this is a game, Tom Allen always talked about this, and he's right. You don't want the first time your backup quarterback touches a ball in anger. And I know Taven Jackson got a few snaps last weekend, but you don't, at least I think he almost certainly did. But you don't want the first time your starting quarterback touches the ball in anger to be week 7, at home against Washington, late third quarter of a tied game, and your starter just got hurt. This is the opportunity not just to maybe iron out some last wrinkles, but also to really make sure you get some snaps for guys you might need down the line, so that they just have a little bit of that comfort, a little bit of that time on task. I wouldn't be surprised if Indiana is even more vanilla on, or I guess I shouldn't say on Friday night. Tonight, it's Friday already, as you said. I wouldn't be surprised if Indiana is even a little bit more vanilla tonight than it was against Florida International, just because you probably shouldn't need to be particularly complex to win this game comfortably. Everything about tonight is just about setting yourself up in the best position for UCLA. And that's, listen, that's part of why this game's on the schedule. This was supposed to be the Louisville game. Indiana bought out of that game. They said, we have got to find a way to be consistently competing to go to bowls. Part of that's going 3-0 in the non-conference. Part of that's giving ourselves, as much comfortable build-up time as possible for our bigger conference games. So, that's what all this has to be if you're Indiana.
Absolutely. And Donovan McCulley is someone that didn't really participate last week, dealing with an injury that doesn't appear to be that big of a deal. But I would not play him tonight. I wouldn't expect to see him tonight. Why would you, when you have a big test coming up next week, when you go on the road for the first time and you enter conference play for the first time? No point in putting out a player that you're going to need like that in a game like this.
No, I agree. I mean, Kalen Black, probably the same thing, unless they're absolutely 100% healthy. Kurt Signetti said Black kind of felt his hamstring tighten a little bit after, I don't know if it was the carry. I thought he maybe said it was a special teams play. In the Florida International game, he was the only running back that didn't really get a ton of usage. I think he had 1 carry for 8 yards. I mean, anybody who's an injury concern probably shouldn't play in this game. And I mean, that when I say injury concern, I mean at all. Anyone who is not just fully cleared, fit and firing, there's just no reason. There might even be some guys, frankly, that you hold out. I'm thinking about looking at an offensive line, and if you'd like to have a longer look at, Tyler Stevens snapping at center or something like that, there might even be guys who are fully healthy who you say, listen, we're probably just going to sit you tonight. Again, this is the closest thing I think a college program is ever going to have to an NFL preseason game. And that doesn't mean you bench your starters because you have fewer games across the course of a college season. You need those guys to get reps and get rhythm and play together. But it does mean you are more tactical and certainly more conservative with how you use those players. Especially if you can get to a place in this game where, you're up 4 or 5 scores, maybe you're comfortably leading at halftime and you start cycling some guys in, because the value of this game is the ability to keep some of your players healthy and to get the guys that you're going to need down the line out of the line of fire as soon as possible.
Is with Tyler Cherry at the number 3 spot, is he somebody that you might expect to see at the end of this game? Or is this going to be, you think it'll be reserved for Taven Jackson getting what he needs to be as a solid backup?
I think it could be both. I'll be honest. I think, if the game plays out the way we think it might, if Indiana can go to a place where, they're up 4 or 5 scores, and it's crazy to talk about that again. Like you are evaluating this opponent on merit. I mean, they are one of the worst teams in the FCS, never mind having to step up and play a Big Ten program. But if Indiana can get to a place where it's, it is comfortably ahead, I think you can probably get some snaps for both. Now, I think you'll probably be a little bit more, and I guess we're also assuming Cherry is the 3rd string quarterback at this point,
which is not a safe assumption with Kurt Cignetti.
Well, yeah, no, I mean, listen, it doesn't really matter that much. Like
right.
It does not matter that much right now today who the 3rd string quarterback is. It only matters if one of the first 2 gets hurt and that player gets elevated to the backup position and is basically on standby. What I would say is you'd probably be more, let's live in a hypothetical world where Indiana's up, 31-0 at halftime, and Kurt Cignetti says the starters are done. We're going to get snaps for the 2s. Taven Jackson goes in at quarterback. He gets at least the 3rd quarter. I think you are probably still calling a fairly balanced offense for Taven Jackson because you'd like him to throw the ball a little bit. You'd like him to have to go through some pre and post snap reads, some progressions and check downs and different things. You'd like to throw him maybe a few plays in live game situations. We're saying you'd like him to have to learn how to communicate with Mike Glasscott, our good friend Mike Glasscott made this point when I was on his radio show last night. You'd like him to have to learn how to communicate with the headset because the quarterbacks have the offensive coordinator in their helmet for the first time this season. So I think there's a world where we see all 3 of these quarterbacks, but I think probably Rourke and Jackson are going to get more meaningful snaps, whereas Cherry maybe is out there, and it's a lot of running the ball. It's a lot of, let's just send it into the line. Let's keep the clock moving. Maybe you mix in a handful of passes for him. But I think in terms of sort of building out of this game, you're much more intensely sort of focused on what Taven Jackson gets out of it as your number 2 than whoever is your number 3, whether it's Tyler Cherry, whether it's Alberto Mendoza, whether it's, somebody else we don't think of.
Absolutely. And Indiana has an opportunity to go 2-0, which, boy, I say that like it's a big thing, and not that it should be. It kind of is for Indiana because, wins and no losses are always big, but it's the progression for this Indiana team as they open up with these 2 non-con games and very easy one this week before they travel to Los Angeles next week to take on a UCLA team who will have 2 weeks of rest and preparation for Indiana as they enter Big Ten play and welcome UCLA into that. There's no point in previewing that game now, but I'm wondering how much coaches are always talking about one game at a time, but with this opportunity of playing a team that that you should sleepwalk through, do you think that there's been any extra preparation for UCLA in the following week, or do you think they just stay with the mantra?
I think it's certainly possible to sprinkle some of that in, and I don't think that's even necessarily, I don't think that's even necessarily sort of risking, any kind of complacency or whatever. I think that's more about you will reach a point in your preseason where you do start building some install that goes beyond just week 1 because you want to be able to recall some of that stuff. Because listen, it's always a delicate balance in coaching any sport. You do want your players to stay intensely focused on the task at hand, but it's your job to make sure that when you play the more important games, they're ready for those too. And sometimes that does require you to think ahead just a little bit more Indiana will have justifiably, I think, looked at Florida International and Western Illinois and said, these are teams that we should beat pretty comfortably, that we can probably beat while staying relatively vanilla, relatively sort of straightforward. So don't go over the top, and don't necessarily, I don't know what the best way to put this is, don't necessarily just turn their focus to UCLA, but it's okay to start working ahead a little bit and start, pushing yourself more in the direction of UCLA. Just so that when it is time to get ready, there's some stuff you have on quick recall, not necessarily the whole playbook, the whole game plan, whatever, but at least some bits and pieces that you can reach for that will, allow you kind of a foundation for that UCLA game plan, because it kind of cuts both ways with UCLA. Yes, they've got a week of rest. On the other hand, they didn't look great against Hawaii, and they've only played once. Indiana, in all likelihood, is going to go out, play well tonight against an overmatched opponent and win without having to be overly creative in doing it. Again, I'm not trying to be flippant. I understand anybody who has, sort of a Pavlovian reaction to people taking an Indiana football opponent lightly, but you're just looking at this matchup on paper, and that's what it tells you. And so Indiana's going to come into that UCLA game on the back of some momentum, feeling like, hey, we're building on it. We got some of the gremlins out of our system. We polished some rough edges, and we haven't even shown you our best yet. UCLA, I know why you take the week off after you play Hawaii at Hawaii. I'm guessing there's a part of UCLA and Sean Foster who would rather play somebody like Western Illinois this week and just sort of, get some of the kinks out and whatever else. So, I mean, it kind of cuts both ways, I guess is my point.
I think coaches would take 2 games versus 2 weeks all day and twice on Sunday to prepare for, especially at the beginning of the season. I think that virtually every team would say, yeah, I'll take the 2 games, because they're both going to be different, offer different scenarios that happen throughout the game, and challenge your team in different ways, probably. So I think that's an advantage for Indiana, having those 2 games under their belt.
No, I think personally, I would, if I were in their shoes, and I'm not, so, this is kind of a silly conversation, but if I were in their shoes, I would probably rather have it Indiana's way, where you get the one game that you kind of struggle with, you look a little rough around the edges. That's normal. That is very much just kind of the standard operating procedure of week 1. And then you get to kind of back some things off. You get to, try some bits and pieces. You get to get some of those second teamers a few more snaps, whatever. And then you can kind of gear up with a larger base of preparation, I guess, essentially for UCLA. Whereas if you're UCLA, and I did not watch, I will freely admit, I did not watch the Hawaii game just because it was on later at night and I was tired and wanted to go to bed. But, you go back and watch that game. I mean, UCLA starting quarterback only completed 50% of his passes. He threw a couple picks. UCLA did not score a point in the first half. They did score 16 in the second half. They came back and won 16-13. But, that's not necessarily a particularly good Hawaii team. Last season, they went 5-8.
They lost to Vanderbilt. They got crushed by Vanderbilt last year.
Yeah, I mean, it's we'll see. Time will tell us what Hawaii actually is. But, that if you're UCLA, I'm guessing you would have liked to have won that game a little bit cleaner, a little bit more comfortably. And that's always just going to be a bit of a concern until you're able to, clean it up. And listen, Indiana could struggle with Western Illinois tonight. Indiana could go out next week, and UCLA is totally geared up and ready and, gives them all kinds of trouble. Who knows? But, yeah.
We'll find out. Zach Osterman, You beat writer for the Indy Star. Thank you, sir. I'll see you tonight out at Memorial Stadium.
Sounds good. Thanks for having me as always, Jim.
Thank you, sir. Make sure you're a subscriber and following Zach Osterman. Hey, we've got more coming up. Special Matt Taylor back with us. It's been a while. The voice of the Colts as they open up season 105 in the NFL this Sunday. We're back with more Indiana Sports Beat Radio from the Hard Truth Studios right after this.
This segment is brought to you by the Fresh Fork in Bloomington.
Enjoy healthy, delicious meals at home without the hassle with the Fresh Fork. Chef-curated, ready-made meals delivered right to your doorstep. Proudly fueling IU athletes and now available to you with a menu that's always fresh and diverse, from hearty proteins to fresh salads. The Fresh Fork empowers you to make better food choices without compromising. Let the Fresh Fork help transform your lifestyle for a healthier way of living today at thefreshforkonline.com. Use promo code RADIO20 and get $20 off of your first order.
Country living is just a swing away. It can be hard to find the exact home that fits your family's needs, so there couldn't be a better time to build a new home with Property Shore Construction. Now building exclusively south of Bloomington within the Stonecrest Golf community. Choose from one of the gorgeous Stonecrest Signature Series house plans. We have several lots available with scenic views of the golf course. Contact Amy Rhoda with Revesco Real Estate for additional information. 812-583-0919 or go to mystonecrestliving.com. That's mystonecrestliving.com for more details.
Whether it's a night out with the family, after work with colleagues, or catching the game with friends, Bubba's 33 is the place for you. Bubba's 33 offers a mouthwatering menu of selections that are all made from scratch every day. The portions are big, but the prices are small. And with over 50 big screen TVs, you'll never miss the big game. Bubba's 33, pizza, burgers, beer.
Looking for someone to cater your next corporate event, family reunion, or tailgate? To some, a garnish may be nothing more than just a decoration put last on a plate. But in Bloomington, catering starts with Garnish Catering. Serving all of Bloomington and surrounding areas, Garnish Catering is waiting to help make your next event one to remember. Planning a great event shouldn't have to be stressful. Whether we quote you just for catering or a total event package, you can trust that you're making the right choice with Garnish Catering. Visit garnishcatering.com. That's garnishcatering.com. Garnish Catering is a proud partner of WOW Food Group.
If you're looking for a home in the Indianapolis area, you need Cheryl Sizemore from RE/MAX Advanced Realty. Cheryl Sizemore has over 2 decades of experience, and that could be the difference in you getting the home you want in today's tough housing market. Reach out to Cheryl Sizemore from RE/MAX Advanced Realty at cheryl@indyhomepros.com or 317-298-0961. Cheryl Sizemore from RE/MAX Advanced Realty. Let Cheryl Sizemore get you in the home you want today. Cheryl@indyhomepros.com.
In the market for a new or used vehicle? Well, nobody beats the prices and selection of Andy Moore Honda in Bloomington. Right now, get a brand new Honda with no payments for 90 days. That's right, 2023 and 2024 Honda Pilots, HRVs, CRVs, Honda Ridgelines, payment-free for 90 days. Or get 0.9% APR financing for 36 months on a 2023 Honda Ridgeline. Go to AndyMooreHonda.com and get more to your door.
This segment is brought to you by Hoosier Hanks East.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio on this Friday. Lots to get to, and if you listen to the opening of the show, one of the voices you hear, Matt Taylor from the Colts. Matthew, my friend, how have you been? How's your summer gone?
I am great. My summer was great. It's gone. It's done and evaporated, but I'm ready for football just like everybody else. Sir, how are you?
Wonderful, and I'm the same, man. I'm so glad that football's here. It was ushered in with high school getting started first. Then I don't count week 0, but week 1 was last week. We're in week 2 now. The games, they have no calories, so you can't count them, right?
That's right.
But
it's the Diet Coke of college football.
Exactly. A couple of good games last week and some on the docket this week. Michigan, Texas at Michigan. I've not been high on Michigan. I think they've lost too much. They've got too much stuff going on. And Michigan is a 7.5 point underdog in the house So I think we're going to get a quick indication of where Michigan lies. But USC, new member of the Big Ten, showed me last week that, I think they just jumped over Oregon in my book to be the number 2 team in the league. I know that you're working on the Colts, and as their season is about to kick off this Sunday, and of course we'll be talking about that. But the new Big Ten, man, you're a fan of the Big Ten, and so what do you think so far?
Yeah, nothing screams Big Ten like USC and LSU in Las Vegas. Classic.
Yes.
You don't mess with the Big Ten in Vegas when the Spartans play, right? No, it's incredibly cool. I wish I could get out there in a couple of weeks for the UCLA game at the Rose Bowl.
Come join me, brother.
I wish I could. I wish the schedule would have lined up a little bit better, but
Would that have been cool if the Colts played the Rams the next day?
That would have been absolutely perfect. Yeah, we haven't played out there against the Rams, I think, since 2017, so it's been a while. So, yeah, that's a bucket list, venue and opportunity for me. My dad and his buddies always joke that when next time IU plays in the Rose Bowl, they're going to go. Well, here they are, and they're all getting out there. It's a different set of circumstances, but hey, they're still playing in the Rose Bowl, so they're excited to go out there and have some fun and soak it all in. But I'm just incredibly excited that football is back. I, for the most part, as best I could, kind of hunkered down last Saturday and watch ball from noon to, bedtime, which is pretty awesome now that Big Ten games go on in the Pacific time zone. So really cool. Plus you had last night for Thursday night football, the first NFL game. We got an NFL game tonight, then a full slate on Sunday.
How about that game last night? First of all, it was just going along, but with it being the NFL, I kind of knew the Ravens hadn't played great. They just looked a step behind. Ironically, they looked a step behind the defense of Kansas City, which the Ravens had the number 1 defense in the NFL last year. So it was kind of a turn of fortunes, but they just looked like a step behind all night. Damn, Patrick Mahomes, I said this earlier, he looks like he's back there on a hoverboard, and he just like moves up. It's like Frogger, and then all of a sudden, zip, a little 15-yard completion. He's unbelievable, and I think he's the best quarterback in the league. He's just a little magician.
Yeah, that's a really good way to put it. He's so poised back there, and he extends plays. And what you saw a lot of last night from their wide receiver core, it's yards after the catch. It's yak, as they say, and they turn short gains into big gains, explosive plays. So it doesn't matter, how many air yards you get, like C.J. Stroud and the Houston Texans. It's just about the result of the play. So, you got Xavier Worthy, who I know the Colts were really high on in the draft. The set of circumstances just didn't, point to the Colts drafting him in the first round. But I thought he was a major steal late in the draft for the Chiefs. It just seems like they just seem to get it. They seem to know how to draft for, their offense, their scheme, what they want to do with Patrick Mahomes. They just bring in the right sort of guys in the draft and in free agency, and Xavier Worthy kind of fits that bill. So it was a really fun, entertaining game last night. The big takeaway that I had, and my wife she's going to roll her eyes at me because last night I was sort of casually watching the game with her, and throughout the course of the night, I was grabbing the clicker and I was hitting the pause button on the TV broadcast. And I just kept saying to myself or pointing to her, I said, hey, watch this. This is what the Colts are going to do with Anthony Richardson, right? When Lamar Jackson's in the red zone, you got the running game, or it's third down, or it's a high leverage situation. Just watch what the Ravens do with Lamar Jackson. That's what the Colts are going to do with Anthony Richardson. So last night was kind of a precursor, I should say, of what you might see with Richardson's return to the regular season game field on Sunday.
Yeah, let's hope that AR's throws are just a little more accurate at crunch time than Lamar was last night. He missed 2 consecutive throws that would have been touchdowns. And then the tremendous catch by Isaiah Weekley. And I've held off on busting this one out, but you need a toe? I can get you a toe. I can get you a toe by 3:30 with nail polish. For all you big Lebowski fans out there,
that's right.
Been saving that one.
Game of inches, or in this case, a game of a big toe. Who would have thought?
I mean, I thought he was in until they showed the replay, and I'm like,
of course.
Oh man. But it just goes to show that what I was saying earlier, the Ravens were like a step behind, but they stayed within striking distance. And then in the NFL, if you're within striking distance, you're still in the game. And had that completed, that would have been an amazing thing. But it was still a great game to kick the season off. The Colts do the same on Sunday. We will see it as they will host Houston in a big opening game for a couple of reasons. A, it's a divisional game. B, what the hell is with a 10-game opening losing streak, Matt? That's like the National League losing 80 All-Star games in a row or something.
I know. And I mean, it really has nothing to do with anything, because obviously no one on the roster, no one on the coaching staff was still around or is still around now, dating back to 2013. It's just one of those things that you can't really wrap your head around, because each year's different. Each week one is unique. And, you've had the quarterback carousel, you've had injuries, you've had bad matchups, you've had close games, you've had ties, you've had blowout losses. It pretty much runs the gamut. It's just something that I think everybody around here is sick and tired of talking about, but you got to bring it up this time of year, because it is the longest active such losing streak in the NFL in week one. I think the second longest losing streak in week one is only 3 games. So, I mean, it's
so this is a record that's probably never going to be broken.
Well, actually, it's the second longest such losing streak in NFL history. The longest belonged to the Browns.
1866.
Actually, it's more recent than you think. It's 2005 to 2021. They lost 16 straight week one games. But yeah, you just want to get off to a good start so you can squash that. But you just have to get off to a good start. Ideally, to set the tone for what this season can be about, because as you said, it's sort of symbolic of playing the Texans week one. They were the team that knocked you out of the playoffs last year in week 18. They won the division. They get 6 primetime games. Colts only get 1. I think the Colts going into this game, plus with it being at Lucas Oil Stadium again, they've got a big chip on their shoulder. They want to, again, symbolically send the tone to the Texans and the rest of the AFC South that, hey, this is the core of the Colts is coming back. Anthony Richardson is returning. This is a brand new season.
And I need to correct myself. It's not a 10-game opening day losing streak. It's a 10-game opening day winless streak, because there was a tie thrown in there. So good job to be able to disassociate that. But it's a new season. And I also noticed that Jonathan Taylor not going to wear the exterior padded for the helmets, the helmet cap, which I wonder. I'm like, okay. At the end of the day, I'm someone who had worked in that industry said that doesn't really do a ton. So, it does a lot. It does a lot. I would imagine that I couldn't have understand how it wouldn't. Anything to absorb energy is got to be huge. Now, in watching, and I mentioned this earlier, watching Patrick Mahomes, Peyton Manning always gets grief over the size of his melon. Patrick Mahomes looks like he is wearing the helmet of Andre the Giant. It looks like it's sticking up 8 inches off of his head. And I'm like, what's he got up underneath it there, man? I don't know if helmets have probably gotten bigger for more padding, but it just looks kind of funny. Maybe it's just me. I don't know.
No, he does wear the helmet high, if you will. It does go high. The back of his neck sort of sticks out underneath his helmet, to your point. But the Guardian cap is what they're called. And Kylan Granson, Colts tight end, he's wearing the Guardian cap for the entire regular season. He's already announced that. I think he's one of only a handful of players that's going to do that, carry that over from the preseason to the regular season. And the NFL, I don't think it's mandated by any means in practice and during training camp, but you as far as the Colts are concerned, And based on what I've seen when they have joint practices with other teams, last year I think it was a joint practice with Chicago and Philly. This year, joint practices with Arizona and Cincinnati. So from a Colts standpoint, and based on what I've seen from other teams, it's almost 100% buy-in from all the players in practice and in training camp. And the NFL doesn't experiment with that stuff because it's an investment, right? It's money. And the NFL is not going to play around with that across the board and have that huge investment like they've made if it doesn't work. And it does work. Concussions are way down. It does take off, I think, like 20% less of the force of an average hit. And again, I don't pretend to be an expert on these things, but I do know that there are studies, there are analytics that back up the effectiveness of these Guardian caps. And, Kylan Granson, I thought, put it, he's always kind of straight and to the point, kind of a blunt guy, personality wise. He said, hey, at one point people thought seatbelts were stupid in cars. And I think people get a little bit, I don't know what the right word would be, apprehensive when looking at these Guardian caps because they are kind of big and bulky, and aesthetically they don't look like what we're accustomed to seeing when it comes to football players. But his point is, hey, if it works, why would you not take your safety into account, your long-term health and your well-being, whether or not you look stupid or not in somebody else's opinion, I'll be damned if I worry about that if you're Kylan Granson. So he's kind of thinking that this is going to become norm, and he's trying to be a little bit of a, trailblazer, if you will, because he's not worried about how it looks. He's worried about the results.
Absolutely. And I'll be honest with you, I'm almost shocked that every lineman doesn't wear these because the linemen far and away take more blows to the head than anybody on the team. That's something that has been shown.
It's a car
every
crash.
time.
70 times
after time after time. So why on God's green earth would these guys not wear those things?
Yeah, I don't know. Again, I don't know what. I mean, everybody's.
But damn it, Matt, you're supposed to know, brother. And I'm just kidding.
I know.
I'm only teasing. I'm only
Right.
teasing. Hey, man, we've got the opener coming up this week. An opportunity for the Colts to do a lot of things to start the season with a win. Getting rid of that streak. It's neither here nor there, but it's against a divisional team. It's the second iteration of Anthony Richardson after that muted first year. The defense seems pretty strong. In watching their last preseason game, he came out, looked tremendous on that first drive, and then he got picked, and it seemed like it got into his head, and he never seemed to recover from that. But that's been a few weeks ago, and a lot of practices between then and now.
Yeah, I'm really excited to see what this offense looks like unleashed with the playbook wide open because, Shane Steichen was asked, I think after that Cincinnati game, with the preseason at that point, concluded, he was asked, hey, if you're an average Colts fan, how much did we see of the offense? And Shane just he grimaced and said, not much. And that's got to get you really exciting considering how, quick and efficient and exciting that first possession was for the Colts against Cincinnati. So I think you're going to see the running game wide open for Anthony Richardson, the RPO game, the zone reads where he takes it and runs. Again, I think it's going to be a lot of what Lamar Jackson and the Baltimore Ravens do. I think it's going to be key third downs, certainly a lot of red zone. I mean, Jim, he had 7 touchdowns last year. He accounted for 7 touchdowns, did Anthony Richardson, in over 170 snaps. So, I mean, if you're a fantasy football player, I'm not telling you what to do, but inside the red zone, I think there's a high probability that Anthony Richardson's going to touch the ball and put up 6 points somehow, some way. So it's going to be really exciting to see what that looks like, full bore with no handcuffs on Sunday.
That means Anthony Richardson and Jim Coyle combined for 7 touchdowns last year.
Oh, that boy. Did you have him on your squad last year?
No, but I'm just saying, I was glad to contribute.
Yeah, you did. All right. I'm with you.
Hey, brother, I am looking forward to it. Glad to have you back. Looking forward to talking to you as the season is kicking off here. And good good luck on the broadcast on Sunday.
I appreciate you. Good to be back. Go Hoosiers tonight, and we'll talk to you soon.
All right, brother. Matt Taylor, the voice of the Colts, joining us here on this Friday as we prepare for this weekend's menu of football. We've got more coming up. Speaking of which, former Indiana football player Dylan Powell will join us next. Back with more Indiana Sports Beat Radio from the Hard Truth Studios right after this.
This segment is brought to you by Hoosier Hanks East.
In the market for a new or used vehicle? Well, nobody beats the prices and selection of Andy Moore Honda in Bloomington. Right now, get a brand new Honda with no payments for 90 days. That's right, 2023 and 2024 Honda Pilots, HRVs, CRVs, Honda Ridgelines, payment-free for 90 days. Or get 0.9% APR financing for 36 months on a 2023 Honda Ridgeline. Go to AndyMooreHonda.com and get more to your door.
If you're looking for a home in the Indianapolis area, you need Cheryl Sizemore from RE/MAX Advanced Realty. Cheryl Sizemore has over 2 decades of experience, and that could be the difference in you getting the home you want in today's tough housing market. Reach out to Cheryl Sizemore from RE/MAX Advanced Realty at Cheryl@IndyHomePros.com or 317-298-0961. Cheryl Sizemore from RE/MAX Advanced Realty. Let Cheryl Sizemore get you in the home you want today. Cheryl@IndyHomePros.com.
Looking for someone to cater your next corporate event, family reunion, or tailgate? To some, a garnish may be nothing more than just a decoration put last on a plate. But in Bloomington, catering starts with Garnish Catering. Serving all of Bloomington and surrounding areas, Garnish Catering is waiting to help make your next event one to remember. Planning a great event shouldn't have to be stressful. Whether we quote you just for catering or a total event package, you can trust that you're making the right choice with Garnish Catering. Visit garnishcatering.com. That's garnishcatering.com. Garnish Catering is a proud partner of WOW Food Group.
Whether it's a night out with the family, after work with colleagues, or catching the game with friends, Bubba's 33 is the place for you. Bubba's 33 offers a mouthwatering menu of selections that are all made from scratch every day. The portions are big, but the prices are small. And with over 50 big screen TVs, you'll never miss the big game. Bubba's 33, pizza, burgers, beer.
Country living is just a swing away. It can be hard to find the exact home that fits your family's needs, so there couldn't be a better time to build a new home with Property Shore Construction. Now building exclusively south of Bloomington within the Stonecrest Golf Community. Choose from one of the gorgeous Stonecrest Signature Series house plans. We have several lots available with scenic views of the golf course. Contact Amy Rhoda with Revesco Real Estate for additional information. 812-583-0919 or go to mystonecrestliving.com. That's mystonecrestliving.com for more details.
Enjoy healthy, delicious meals at home without the hassle with the Fresh Fork. Chef-curated, ready-made meals delivered right to your doorstep. Proudly fueling IU athletes and now available to you with a menu that's always fresh and diverse, from hearty proteins to fresh salads. The Fresh Fork empowers you to make better food choices without compromising. Let the Fresh Fork help transform your lifestyle for a healthier way of living today at thefreshforkonline.com. Use promo code RADIO20 and get $20 off of your first order.
This segment is brought to you by the Rusty Gator.
Welcome back to the Hard Truth Studios here on this Friday. Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Jim Coyle with you as always. Now joined by Dylan Powell, former IU football player. DP, how are you, man?
I'm good, man. It's football season. It couldn't be better.
I'm sure it's. What's it? How long or what was it like your first season not playing?
It's different for sure. Didn't miss training camp, I'll say that. But once the games start coming back on, you start to miss it and being around all the guys and all that stuff. But I don't think it's too bad drinking a cold one watching games now, though.
Yeah, I'm sure you don't miss it, those 2-a-days. And anybody that even played high school football, if you played up, especially a bigger high school, it was like when you tell those stories, it's like walking uphill to school. It's uphill both ways. I'm like going, dude, it was hotter when we were in school. The humidity was higher. We had to run farther. I do remember this every year during 2-a-days. I would say, why are you doing this to yourself? What is wrong with you? You just had to get through that 2-week period. It was brutality, baby.
It was. It really was.
But if you want some true brutality, go back and watch what was the show that they did on Bear Bryant, the Junction Boys, I think, back when he was at Texas A&M in his early career. They literally killed guys. I mean, we've got nothing on what the hell they went through, especially the fact that they were in South Texas.
No,
But yeah, man, college football is here. Week 2, week 1 in the books. Indiana is off to a 1-0 start. Look, decent. They look pretty good. They didn't do a lot of things wrong except for the penalties. We've talked about that ad nauseum. But where a lot of people would probably like to have seen them put 40 points on the board or whatever, that would have happened had they not kind of shot themselves in the foot a few times. They're going to put probably 50 points on the board tonight. This team is just not good. But it's not about running the score up, but it is about being clean. And if they're clean, they should be able to walk through Western Illinois.
Yeah, absolutely. I think this is a good week to go out and correct all the mistakes you made last week. Like a lot of people say, from week 1 to week 2 is where you should make the biggest jump in the season. Obviously, it helps not going into the Big Ten yet. So a team like Western Illinois, I think, has only won 3 games in the last 4 years or something like that. You have to go out and throttle this team. You have to make steps. I'd like to see the quarterback and wide receivers getting on the same page a little bit more and get them in a real rhythm before you have kind of your first real game out at UCLA.
Yeah, I talked about the Indiana showed right off the bat that they can run the ball this year. Last year, they were supposedly a running team, and I pointed out this stat, sorry to the listeners, but numerous times. But I quickly, after the first game, I noticed something, and I'm like, that they not only had they put about 245 yards rushing on the board, but they had I forget who was where, but someone had 80 and someone had 70 something and somebody else had 60 something, Just Selson, I think. But I'm like, I went back and looked at last season, the top 3 individual rushing games of the entire season accounted for 237 yards. These guys, their top 3 last week was at 224. So that shows just an immense jump in ability to run the ball. If you can run the ball, you can start to control the game, and especially when the passing game starts to come together. That is what I think is going to make Indiana a much better and tough team to beat because they're going to have a balanced offense.
Yeah, absolutely. Every offense starts with the run. I don't care how you do it, but you have to be able to run the football, control the clock, control the line, especially on first down. First downs are so critical, and getting 4 or 5 yards to put you in more manageable situations to get first downs, especially when you start to play better defenses with better pass rushers. So, yeah, running the ball is going to be critical. Sounds like they've got a bunch of new running backs that are doing really well and add some more dynamic playmaking to our team. So, yeah, I'm excited to see how they continue to grow and how that'll open up all of the passing game for all these new wide receivers and new quarterback that seems to be a pretty good player.
I'm assuming you were able to catch the game at some point last week. What did you see? What were your thoughts? First game, all the changes, new coach, new staff, virtually a new team for practically speaking.
Yeah. It looked like a week 1 game. It started out really well. I was proud of how they started out on offense, scoring the first few drives. It's always important to score early and getting a little bit of a rhythm. Like Coach Shiggs said, they seemed like they kind of took their foot off the gas a little bit there at the end of the second and the early second half. So great coaching points, great stuff to learn from. But yeah, I mean, you could tell they've got athletes all over the field. They've got the ability to do some different things. So I'm excited to see where this group can go and continue to grow. I think they've got a really favorable schedule to begin this year. So if they can come out hot and keep winning games, I think they'll be in a great position to keep winning and get back to a bowl game and hopefully win first bowl game in a long time.
Well, there's never as much as I talk to coaches and players, I know that I am almost wasting my breath when I talk about anything that is beyond this week's game, just because they don't want to talk about it. They are trained well and to focus, and I know that that's a good thing. Luckily, I don't have to follow that mantra. I get to look ahead to UCLA next week and others, but the UCLA game I keep bringing up because to me it is I call it a linchpin. It's a linchpin in the start of this season, the Cignetti era, because if you can go out to Los Angeles, play in the Rose Bowl, which has seemed to be only a dream for Indiana to ever do again, but not only that, and then get a win on the road, come back, you've got Charlotte, you're going to be 4-0. 4-0 to start the season if they can get past UCLA. And I think that Indiana will win that game no matter. And I think they'll be an underdog when they do it. But the opportunity, the schedule, it's set up for Indiana to do something that is extraordinarily special this year, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. As a player, you can't look ahead, and you don't want to you're going to win tonight. It would be a major shock if you didn't. So you don't want to look ahead today. I think you need to go out and win. You should easily cover the 42.5 spread and do that. But no, I think week one out in UCLA, I actually got the privilege of playing there when I was at Stanford. It's an awesome stadium. It's
forgot about that.
One of those magical places. So I was able to go down there and get a win when I was playing. So it's an awesome experience. I think it'll be awesome for the guys to get to go out and play at all these different stadiums on the West Coast as well. And I mean, just the confidence. If you win that first Big Ten game, put you at the top of the standings right away, and just keep the confidence growing and just keep winning.
That brings up a quick question. I forgot about the Stanford, that you were at Stanford before Indiana. Do you consider yourself a Cardinal or a Hoosier?
I'm a Hoosier. That's I'll always be a Hoosier.
Obviously, you're very, very intelligent as well, is what that quickly reminds me. So I need to watch my tongue. No. Anybody that can go to Stanford, let me tell you, people, that is not your community college I'm getting into. Lots of games this week, man. Indiana, we expect them to get a win. Purdue is off as they prepare for the Irish to come in to Ross-Ade Stadium next week. But I've talked a lot about Michigan. I don't think Michigan makes the playoffs this year. I don't think that they're a top 4 team in the Big Ten. As a matter of, we'll see after this weekend when they host Texas and the Big House, and it's going to be an interesting test. I'm not sure that they're ready for that test, but we shall see what Michigan is made of.
Yeah, that is obviously College Game Day this week, one of the biggest games of the week. I don't know if a new quarterback can go out and beat Quinn Ewers and that good team, but you never know. You can never discount Michigan, the Big Ten, playing at they're at the Big House. So I don't know. I mean, you just never know with these early season games how these teams are going to go out and play. Obviously, the new quarterback in Michigan has a lot to prove, so that'll be a game I'm absolutely fired up to watch tomorrow and kind of see how that sets the tempo for their season. I would obviously lean Texas's way for sure, but it's college football. You never know what can happen every Saturday, so that's why us fans get the joy of sitting down and watching every weekend.
That's why they line them up, right?
Yes, sir.
What last week's games? Anything stick out that you enjoyed? What was your favorite game that you watched last week?
I'd say the game I remember the most is obviously the LSU USC game.
No,
really impressed with USC. Great look for the Big Ten, them coming in there. I think the biggest key for me there was their defense looks like they've done a complete 180. Got the new DC in there. They look like a big time defense already, and if you can get a big time defense with a Lincoln Riley offense, look out.
Absolutely, Dylan Powell. Brother, I appreciate you and looking forward to seeing you again tonight as he will join us on the post-game show, the Hard Truth Indiana Football post-game show that you can join us right here on our YouTube channel. That'll be immediately following Curt Cignetti's presser. So we'll be there for you. Dylan, cannot thank you enough, brother. Good to see you, and look forward to seeing you again tonight.
Yes, sir. Thanks for having me on.
You betcha. Dylan Powell joining us. Big thanks to Todd Leary, Zach Osterman, and the Colts, Matt Taylor as well. Skylar for keeping us between the white lines. Most importantly, thanks to each and every one of you. Don't forget to join us on the Hard Truth Indiana Football postgame show tonight. And that's going to wrap it up from the Hard Truth Studios today. Until this evening, I'm Jim Coyle. I will see you on the radio.
Thanks for listening to Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube page for more clips and team coverage of Indiana basketball, football, and more. You can also find full episodes and tons of other content on thehoosier.com. We'll see you next time for another edition of Indiana Sports Beat Radio.